Harley?
We're through.
She's dumping you. You don't ever break up with me.
Party's over. I'm the muscle. I do the hitting.
Harley Quinn.
Have you watched Harley Quinn yet?
I've only watched the segments that you showed me, and I know you wanted to.
I thought you had that DC shit.
I don't have the DC app, no.
Oh, I thought you had the DC app.
No, I'm waiting for HBO Max to absorb the DC Universe app, and then I'll watch that shit that way.
Every time I watch an episode, I'm one step closer to giving fucking DC money. Like, it boggles my mind.
Okay, so like, we talked about this before.
I'm a ride or die Marvel guy. Ride or die Marvel. Hardcore to the max. Like, I walk, I get my marching orders from Marvel. I do skew from Marvel and read some of the independent stuff you throw my way, which I do enjoy, and I feel more adult when I'm reading that shit. But DC to me has been, I liked Jeff Johns until I realized, he was building his career on the bones of everything Alan Moore ever wrote.
Well, I think the New 52 destroyed what made Jeff Johns great. Because I think what we really loved about Jeff Johns, he was sort of a modern Jerry Conway who actually had respect for DC's history and its library of characters. And then once he had to dial back how many books he was producing, and once he focused pretty tightly on just the Justice League and Green Lantern for the most part, and he didn't, and he was trying to do like a new 52 version of all that stuff. I think that he lost what made us enjoy him. I think that he went from the Jerry Conway of classic Justice League to the Jerry Conway of Justice League Detroit, so that's where he's at. But I think that he was definitely a good writer at one point in time. He definitely owes his entire career to Alan Moore, and he was definitely like a populist Alan Moore. If you look at his Flash stuff, it was clear that he was trying to figure out how Alan Moore would write the Flash.
That's the funny thing. So I picked up those big old giant trades, and what do they call them? The
omnibus.
Yeah, the omnibus. And I got one of the Flash for like $3, and I'm like, you fucking kidding me? And it's massive. So I'm going to start rereading the Flash, because I started reading it. I'm like, you know what? This is very Alan Moore-ish. Like, come on, Mirror Master being a cokehead and
very Mark Miller too.
I know you hate Miller. Do you hate Millar so much?
Look, I don't like what Miller became. I think that when he was still doing stuff like Authority, he was doing something that other people weren't doing, where the more he went into full Pat Mills, not just satire, but actual like loathing of the subjects he was attacking, I got very tiresome. But when he's
so
good,
much, man, it's insane.
But in general, I really dislike the guy. Yeah, it's true.
And dude, the venom that comes from your lips when you speak his name.
Well, getting back to the Flash, though,
he's your Harry Potter to his what was it, Voldemort?
He's my Voldemort. I don't know if I'd go that far. I actually liked the Jupiter stuff.
Yeah, I thought, dude. Okay, to me, he's hit and miss. Some of his stuff I really, really like. Some of his stuff I'm like, he did this for a fucking paycheck. Like, it goes back and forth with me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you have to watch Harley Quinn.
Well, we were talking about Jeff Johns. So that's sort of like, so to wrap up the whole Jeff Johns thing.
Almost cry laughing.
Well, hold on, but let's finish off.
Good at it.
But we didn't finish off. Okay, two things. One, we didn't finish off the Jeff Johns thing. I think the main problem too with Jeff Johns, besides the fact that he ran out of material to swipe from Alan Moore, was also when he was first writing the stuff and he was still hungry. I think he was also still reading a lot of other people's stuff, and he was processing it, and you were getting a good sense of what he was reading and who he was trying to compete with. And I think once he became like kind of a top dog, I don't think he was exposing himself to as good of a stuff. I don't think he was striving as much. And I think that it shows that he's just basically, kind of going through the motions at the points. I think he might be passionate about the material, but I don't think he has that hunger or that drive to prove himself or anything much to say anymore. But
dude, he ran out of Alan Moore story.
Yeah. But you had gotten a hold of me when it came to Harley Quinn. You told me about how you expected to hate it. You hated the Suicide Squad Harley Quinn.
When I saw the first episode for free on YouTube, I thought I was going to fucking loathe it. I thought I was going to watch a shit show. I was almost rooting to watch it burn. I was like, this is going to be so much fun to watch burn. This is going to be so much. I'm just so excited to watch this. First 5 minutes into it, and they're cursing the storm, and the Joker doesn't sound like, my Joker's not Mark Hamill, and she's kind of whining. I'm like, oh, yeah, they're using curse words just to be edgy and cool. Here we go with that. I'm a bad guy. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to hate it. So
yeah, that's what really, when they came, the teaser trailer I was okay with. I didn't think too much of it, but I didn't think it was going to be anything I wanted to see, but I didn't regard it that much. But then when they came out with the full trailer with all the cursing, it felt like they learned, it felt like fuck Batman to the 10th power. It's just like, let's just say fuck shit, fuck shit. And it's going to be funny because the cartoon characters are doing it.
Harley, I haven't seen nothing else on DC, so I can't compare it to anybody. I watched a little bit of Doom Patrol, which was just fun and weird, but
I want to watch
the
that.
Story arc,
that's the only thing I'm really excited about watching on the app.
Well, the story arc between Harley and Poison Ivy is so great, and I'm sitting there, and the characters are so fucking just. I mean, Dr. Psycho is fucking hilarious, dude. I don't know who he is, but he's. I mean, he comes on screen, I start laughing because it's just the shit he says, and they're just snarky and they're mean spirited toward each other.
You told me a little bit about the story. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the story? Because you did that for me before and we didn't record that, so maybe we ought to talk about that a little bit. What is actually going on here, and what is the significance of Dr. Psycho in the midst of all this?
I mean, it's just these characters are. I guess DC was like, take these characters who are not huge characters with Harley and just go balls to the wall with, like, just fucking go bonkers with them. I played you that fucking Dr. Psycho, just that little clip. What did you think?
Well, okay, you showed me where Harley Quinn has broken up with the Joker. And she's trying to prove herself.
She's not getting over him, and she's trying to get into the Legion of Doom. She just wants to show that she can. First, she wants to show that she can do it without Joker, because everyone keeps calling her, his little helper, not even his partner. She wants to be a partner, and she's more like a henchman or a side piece, and she's really pissed off. And he's really abusive. Like, I mean, I love the fact that they play up the fact that no, he's an abusive asshole to her, and it's now dawning on her, like Poison Ivy and them have to kind of point out to her, and she doesn't quite see it, but she's slowly starting to see it, and now it's almost like a revenge thing where, and it's a weird universe where you would assume it's be kind of hokey and goofy, where you have the Legion of Doom and the Doom International and the Junior Doomsters of America, and I'm like, that sounds, but when you put it in the context of the extremely vulgar language that they're using and the extreme, like, just the gags and stuff. I mean, Clayface, to me, Alan Tudyk is a goddamn national treasure. When he comes out there,
I thought Tudyk was doing Joker.
No, he's doing Clayface.
He was doing Joker.
No, he's doing Clayface.
I don't think he's doing Clayface.
Yes, he's doing Clayface.
I don't think he is.
Hold on.
We're both right.
What do you mean?
He's doing both.
Well, I didn't know he was doing Joker. I know he's doing Clayface, and I loved Clayface.
And he's Calendar Man besides.
Oh, yeah. Who?
Calendar Man?
Calendar Man hasn't appeared yet.
Well, it's supposed to be 6 episodes. Have you watched all 6 yet?
I've seen 5.
Okay, so there's a 6th one you haven't seen yet.
Oh, so there's only 6 episodes?
Apparently in the first season, yeah. They're 23 minutes each.
Yes, that's a fucking crime against nature. That show deserves 32 episodes easy. This show is so fucking... Okay,
well,
so I didn't know that he was also doing Joker.
So...
I knew he was doing Clayface because he's like, I'm an actor, and he's very loud and just...
Well, it's funny, too, because Alan Tudyk was in that Powerless show, which I watched specifically because Vanessa Hudgens is extremely hot, and having her involved with anything to do with the DC Universe gave me an excuse to look at her a lot. But the show itself was creepy. Fucking terrible. The show was awful, and Tudyk played Bruce Wayne's cousin, and he was a nincompoop and an unfunny one at that. So it's interesting to see him sort of...
I think I watched maybe 10 minutes of Powerless and never watched it again.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get through 10 minutes.
I don't think most people got through more than 10 minutes.
It was horrible.
It was really bad,
But Harley Quinn is just, dude, you see, I think you'll like it because it's enough girl power. Look at my strong vagina. Like you'll root that, because I do love the story where she's very like taking charge of her life, but at the same time she's very dysfunctional. They do this one thing where she breaks mentally, and Dr. Psycho they have to go into her mindscape, and Joker's everywhere, and she's embarrassed because apparently he's always on her mind, and she's always trying to tell everybody that he doesn't mean shit and he doesn't care. And I mean, it's just a great show, dude.
And you said you liked. I wasn't sure about Kelly Cuoco as Harley, but you say you actually liked.
I love her as Harley better than a fucking Robbie chick. I hate Robbie.
Well, you have probably
Harley Quinn.
What do you think of the Birds of Prey trailers?
I have no desire to watch it. It looks. I heard like the last third of the movie, they say fuck like 23 times. Mm-hmm. Like they're trying to get their fucks in.
I think it was a late decision for them to go R. I think that they already were getting buzz off the Joker, and that's when they got the green light to go R. So they're like ADR and fucks just for the R.
The thing is, even Joker, I enjoyed it. I Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor, another goddamn national treasure. Movie. It's okay. Like, I've seen the movie. It's called Taxi Driver.
And the King of Comedy.
Okay. I mean, I just thought it was weird that DC wanted to get Martin Scorsese to do a movie, and he didn't do one, so they found a director who did a Martin Scorsese movie for them.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's basically also the king of comedy, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of I've seen King of Comedy, but I saw it like a long time ago, so I'd have to revisit that one. But I literally saw Taxi Driver when it came back out on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it was there, and I'm just like, it's one of those movies where you kind of watch it. It doesn't have the same creep factor now as it did. I mean, hell, they even take place in the same time period.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't.
And they even hang a lampshade over it. In the King of Comedy, you've got Robert De Niro in the Joker role, and now he's in the Jerry Lewis role. Yeah. Or Johnny Carson, Jerry Lewis, yeah.
So, I mean, again, I thought Joker was a good movie. $1 billion movie? Nah, it was a good movie.
Did it get to the B?
I think it got the B.
Jesus fucking Christ. That barrier
Dude,
means
I'm
no
telling
thing
you,
anymore.
I knew guys that were like, I've seen it 7 times. I'm like, okay.
Oh, tell us about when you saw it in the theater.
Oh, okay. So, okay. True story. Absolutely fucking true. Get to the theater, standing in line to go see the Joker. 2 young Hispanic girls behind me, older white woman behind them. Ask them, are y'all going to go see the Joker? And they said yes. And she's like, we better stand together, girls. It's dangerous. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? We're going to see a movie. And she's making it sound like something's going to happen in the theater. So I'm like, okay. You know, people are buying into this fucking hype machine around it.
Well,
there's going to be some kind of danger. Huh?
The killer in Colorado, people were concerned about some sort of copycat bullshit.
I think some people went in there like almost like a roller coaster, like I'm in danger, but I'm not really in danger. Like this is controlled fear type feel. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So we get in the theater. I sit down. Young couple sits next to me. Young guy, his girlfriend. And there's this guy that literally is everything people were joking about that would do a theater shooting. Socks and sandals, socially awkward, sweating, just talking to really no one and hoping someone listened to him. And he's talking to the young girl next to him who is next to, the boyfriend's next to me. And he's talking about how he's already seen it. And this is this is literally the second night, like the second day I went midday too. I never told you that part of the story. It was literally like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I figured, hey, there shouldn't be a lot of people in the theater. I think it was like Thursday night is when does it come out?
It's probably a Thursday preview, so you're probably watching it Friday afternoon, I'm guessing.
Friday morning. I think, because I remember I had a day off that was really weird. It was an off day. So I'm there midday. So he's sitting there and he's talking to the girl about he's already seen the movie like 3 times and he's seen Rambo, that new Rambo movie that had just come out like twice, and they're the greatest films of all time. And I'm watching them and I'm like, you can see how fucking uncomfortable she is because he's just talking and sweating and, he's just very socially awkward. She gets up and walks down in the theater. She walks down the stairs and I'm watching her, and as she turns the corner, she looks back and you can see where she's looking at a phone in her hand and she's typing something. All of a sudden the boy picks up his phone, he looks at it, and he kind of does this fuck, and he jumps over his seat and he's sitting next to the guy, and the guy immediately just starts talking to him. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I think that, if you have the ability to sit there and talk to strangers, that's great. But you have to have like an engaging conversation. Like it has to be a give and take conversation. And this was more of a listen to me. You got to listen to me kind of conversation.
I worked as a comics retailer for 8 years. I'm very well versed in being talked at by somebody who doesn't understand basic conversation. Yeah.
Yes. You put all those together, and this man was the fucking storm of the century of that persona sitting there. So the guy's sitting there. A couple of minutes later, the girl comes back, sits down next to me. She looks at me and I said, don't worry, I don't usually talk to strangers. And she smiles at me and kind of like gives me this like, oh, okay. We sit back, movie starts, movie's going. There's no real comedy in the movie to laugh at. So there's no one ever really laughs, but I'm going to just say there's one scene. There's one scene.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about you spoiling. I personally am morally offended by the existence of the goddamn movie, so I don't give a fuck. Well, you say whatever the fuck you want to say.
Watch it just to watch Joaquin Phoenix's performance.
Yeah, he got a Golden Globe just now, didn't he?
Yeah, but you need to watch his performance. I will give him his performance. I've said this many times to people who've tried to tell me it's a great movie. He took a mediocre script and gave it life. If it wasn't for him, if any other actor was in that part, this movie would have been a shit show. It would have been garbage. He took, and I saw some of the back footage where he's like, where the director's like, yeah, I would let Joaquin just like organically take over the scene. I'm like, so you let him create the scene. Like you just said, you're the Joker, and then point the camera at him and he just created, which I could see Joaquin pulling that off. He seems like the type of actor that is, he can absorb the environment around him and kind of place you what the character would feel like in that environment. I give him that because he's an amazing actor. I've been watching him forever.
Joaquin's a person who can very much try my patience and often does, but when he does a great job or he's in a great movie, I very much appreciate him. It's just that he's one of these dudes where, like, you take somebody who's not a particularly good actor like Keanu Reeves. And especially for a streak there in the 90s, he chose such good material that it's like, okay, Keanu's basically putting his brand on it. He's putting his label on there. And so I know there's a certain quality I can expect from this script or from the angle they're going to take at it. Where Joaquin is looking for opportunities to show off what a great actor he is, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a great movie. It just means you'll probably get a great performance out of it. So I can't trust him as much. But when the combination of material and his acting is there, then it'll be a movie I thoroughly enjoy.
I mean, there's several movies I can think off the top of my head that I just absolutely love that he did. You know, Buffalo Soldier, Quills.
Yeah.
I mean, Her. These movies. So I'm a big fan of his. So let me get back. So the movie's going on. There's a scene where the Joker's at the hospital. The cops are trying to talk to him. He gets up and he walks off and he runs into a glass door. No one laughs. This dude was laughing like it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. And he kept laughing even after the scene had ended, to where there was almost like a very uncomfortable vibe for a second there. Because and I'm not talking about like, ha ha ha. I'm talking like it's a belly laugh of him bouncing into a glass door. And I remember thinking, oh shit, like, am I going to be on the news? Like, this is weird. And the guy's just laughing, and then he kind of calms down. And the theater, again, no one in the theater laughed. No one reacted. It was just, it was like looking at a car wreck. We were all just staring at the car wreck. And this guy was laughing because it was a car wreck. And it was
definitely
belly laugh.
The echoes from the depths of his broken soul. It wasn't actual laughter. It was just this sound he emitted. It was like a cry.
I know, great humanitarian, that it was just, I don't know, he added to the gumbo of weirdness that I walked into when I watched The Joker. He was that little bit of spice that really punched up that gumbo, the atmosphere.
He's the ringer that tries to make you think that the edginess that it's been promoted with is actually a thing that you have to be concerned about.
I'm being dead honest, man. For a split second, I'm like, I think I'm going to be on the fucking news. Like, something's going to happen. This dude is laughing way too hard.
It's like some kind of social media age William Castle bullshit. He's like your Tingler.
Well, again, movie ends, and him and about two other people got up and started clapping, and everybody there just kind of got up and just, we all just kind of started walking out. And
was one of those
people kind of like
one of those Shia LaBeouf laughs? Or one of those Shia LaBeouf claps, like when he was doing the Orson Welles Citizen Kane thing.
I mean, literally, it ended and it was like, bravo, bravissimo, bravo, and so I was like, okay. Him and like two other people further in the theater were clapping. As we're walking, I mean, you could see that the movie generated conversation because people were talking, and so you could hear people like, oh, that was an amazing movie, and other people were like, what the fuck did I just watch? And so I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. He's, it's generating conversation. That's kind of neat to experience in a theater with strangers. So that was kind of neat. So I'm walking out, and as I'm walking out, this guy looked at me and he was like, kind of weird. And I'm like, I said it's a good movie. And he's like, yeah, I guess, yeah. And we, strangers were just kind of communicating. That felt really cool. But it was just a really weird experience at that theater, which I visit quite a bit, and I've seen lots of films there. And that was the only time that it was kind of like this really weird vibe going on. But again, I don't want to buy into the whole hype that was going on. Like, oh, it's going to be dangerous. I went to a midday showing because I'm a cheap bastard and the tickets are cheap. It's a good movie. I would put it up. I wouldn't say it's the best of Joaquin's work, but I would put it up there with some of his good, really solid work. I just find it really odd that people, a lot of normies too, are just blown away by this movie. And I always tell them, like, when a normie's telling me how great this movie, I'm like, have you ever seen, Travis, Taxi Driver? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, watch the movie. Watch that movie. You might enjoy it. But it's just really weird. So
yeah, but Taxi Driver isn't part of a shared universe, man.
Yeah, I guess. So when I saw the new Birds of Prey trailer, I was just kind of like, and I'm a big Rosie Perez fan, dude. Mookie, I got her back, dude. But just like, and I'm not trying to bash on it because it's a woman empowering film or anything like that. I don't know. I haven't seen anything yet. I mean, I like Ewan McGregor, and I just, Black Mask. I'm just like, I don't know much about the character except maybe the video games. Harley Quinn's gonna be Harley Quinn. Huntress doesn't really look like Huntress to me, so I get, and I'm not a big Huntress fan, so I can't really make a judgment call on that. I'm not sure who the other characters are.
Well, and that's one big problem that I have is you've got Black Canary, and one of the visual on Black Canary is very important, I think, because she has that whole Veronica Lake, 40s kind of vibe, and then she's also the ass-kicking martial artist and stuff. And so when you race swap that character, it's like one of the main things the character has is the look. But when you race swap her and it doesn't the look isn't there, so how do you even recognize the character? Because she's not in a costume. It doesn't appear like she's doing anything you'd expect Black Canary to do. I mean, one of the things is she's a singer. That's the thing that they tacked on to the character in the New 52, but it's really not something that people closely associate with Black Canary. I think that the smart play would have been to race swap Huntress, because they did that also in the New 52, where they decided that since they were going to go ahead and have a Helena Wayne on Earth 2 that's still the daughter of Bruce Wayne and Catwoman, then they could also have Helena Bertinelli, and they made her dark skinned. I don't know if it was like a Sicilian thing or if she's actually like African American, but she was definitely very dark, and she had, or darker, or much darker. Her features were definitely not Caucasian. And so for me, I don't think the race of Huntress matters very much. It's about her personality. It's about she's this hard ass, like a stalker.
But she's kind of like an assassin, right?
They try to portray her as though she were an assassin, but she typically isn't actually lethal. It's a little weird, but I like her being like this stalker of men, this stalker of mafia dons and the like. And so the race of that character really doesn't matter. And she's already been portrayed as another race within the comic books themselves. So when you're constantly trying to push back catalog to new people a bit from the movie, it makes sense that you can actually give them Hunter stuff where she is a person of color. So when there's nothing in existence in the comics featuring Black Canary as a person of color, and you're specifically making a black woman Black Canary, to me it seems like really, really regressive. So I don't even know what they're thinking with those particular changes. I think that they're really badly conceived ideas. It just doesn't make. I'm not enthused about the movie at all. I wanted to. This is one of the ones where just on concept, just knowing that they're going to do the Birds of Prey and that Huntress is going to be in it, because I'm very fond of the Huntress. She's one of my favorite DC characters. I was already on the hook. Yeah. And these trailers have been so fucking lame, and they've so clearly shown a complete disregard for the comics. And also, it's a Harley Quinn movie that happens to feature these supporting characters that vaguely resemble comic book characters. Don't fucking call it Birds of Prey if it's not fucking Birds of Prey. I was talking to one fan she photoshopped in the the Batgirl, or rather the Oracle from the Birds of Prey TV show, just to make it look like it was an actual Birds of Prey movie. You don't take the central character in the Birds of Prey out of it, replace her with Harley Quinn, and show such disregard for the comics and then try to say it's a Birds of Prey thing.
That's the thing. That's what DC's been doing. I'm sorry, but if you watch Joker, if you took off the name Joker and you took out the Wayne family, it's just a serial killer. Yeah. It's a serial killer movie.
I mean, how far are you into the movie before there's an actual Joker?
And you add in Wayne, the Wayne name, and all of a sudden, no, it's part of the Batman universe. I'm like, no, by name only, but this is not. It didn't feel like it was part of the Batman universe. I remember telling myself as I walked out of the theater, if you took out the Waynes and the Joker title, you could have called it Gacy, Dahmer, Shag, anything, and you're just like, there's a serial killer movie. There you go. Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, that's kind of what turned it off for me. And now with you talking about Birds of Prey, I'm like, you know what? He's right. Now that I think about it, that's because I love the JLA cartoon, and they had a Birds of Prey episode in there, didn't they?
Yeah. That was the one where they do the singing routine and everything. Yeah, that was a fun episode. I really liked Huntress's portrayal really cool. on Justice League United.
That was really cool. I mean, I still like the one where they do with Roulette, where they had to fight Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and Vixen,
Dude, I'm not a big DC person, and I don't know the film, but I was like, dude, that's a fucking badass episode where Wonder Woman's fighting like Canary and all them, and they're trying to battle, and it's all for gambling, and I kind of thought like, Roulette's that's kind of a cool character.
Well, there's a song called Conquest, and I don't remember who did the original version back in like the 50s or 60s, but the White Stripes did a cover of it in the aughts. And in the early days of YouTube, in the early days of my experimenting with trying to do video editing, which I gave up on because it was too tedious and time consuming, I cut 2 videos, one for each of the versions of the song, spotlighting the Huntress, since there's a line in the song about the Huntress, and it was cut to material from Justice League United. And I had a lot of fun just editing that, and it was a kick to see Huntress fighting all these different characters and stuff. I think that Justice League United had a real insight into a lot of the DC characters, and I think that so many people who were fans of those characters became fans through like Batman the Animated Series and Justice League United, that's the obvious template to doing the DC Expanded Universe, or whatever they're calling it, DC Cinematic Universe.
DC United was the best.
And so
I like the
Yeah, and they keep looking at Marvel, where if they had just looked at their own house, if they just looked at the Justice League cartoon and Batman, they'd have a much better idea of what to do with these characters.
Yeah, I agree with that. So again, I'm not going to bash the movie. I'm going to go see it.
I'm already willing to bash the movie because here's my problem: is I watched this fucking trailer and it reeks of 90s. Reeks of 90s. This looks like a comic book movie from the 90s where they had no faith in the fucking source material, so they're just like taking elements of it and doing what the fuck they want. So as I'm watching this trailer, as much as I want to be down with the girl power, I'm getting flashbacks to fucking Barbed Wire. I'm getting fucking Tank Girl. This feels like a shitty 90s superhero movie. And people like Tank Girl. I'm not a Tank Girl fan, but I also didn't read the comics too. I know a lot of
comics, but I just thought it was just a wacky, weird comic book movie. Yeah, like it was so fucking bizarre.
I thought Lori Petty was great in it, but it just I know
it was amazing.
A lot of 90s riot girls and stuff really dug on Tank Girl, and I remember there was one girl in particular that used to come to one of my shops specifically to get Tank Girl material and material like that. So I'm not trying to slag on it, but I'm also not a fan of that movie, and that movie doesn't have anything to do with doing a Birds of Prey movie in the year 2020. Okay, so that it's just it like you got Cassandra Cain, right? And Cassandra Cain's an odd character because she's a mute like teenage Asian girl, and the director of the movie is Asian, so I could see where she would be uncomfortable with playing into like maybe some weird stereotypes of her like being silent. So I guess that'd be like she's demure and you know she would want to give voice to the Asian character and stuff, but they make her the sassy like young sidekick to these other people, and I don't know that she's like any kind of special martial artist or anything else. So basically there's nothing about the comic book character here besides being an Asian girl. Okay, and then the same thing with Black Canary. She's an African American woman who's a singer, and she's getting drawn into some sort of crime thing involving Harley Quinn. That's got fuck all to do with the character of Black Canary. The only character that seems like they're who they're supposed to be, at least to some degree, is Huntress, even though nobody's in costume, and that's kind of a drag too. I'd like to see at least something that resembles a costume. Instead, she looks like she's recreating the character that Ashley Scott played on the Birds of Prey TV show from 15, 20 years ago. But at least the character I care the most about somewhat resembles who I'd be going to see that in that movie. Everybody else, they just don't give a shit, and it's obvious they don't give a shit. So it's a fucking Harley Quinn movie with these bullshit fake ass guest stars. So I should totally be showing up.
Suicide Squad Part 2.
Exactly, and it just doesn't look like a particularly good movie either. I'm not.
I get a strange vibe that we're gonna get like each one will get their own intro with a soundtrack. Like, maybe some Veruca Salt for you out there.
They wouldn't have that good of a taste. I wouldn't expect unless they're really dedicated to the whole 90s thing that I was just bitching about.
Yeah, there's be like By
the way, Veruca Salt had a track on the Tank Girl
Huntress
soundtrack.
Comes out to Cannonball from Readers.
I can see that. That would be a perfectly lame, obvious, heavy rotation 90s cut. Yeah.
And then, of course, Harley Quinn will come out to Like a Virgin from Madonna. They show that part where she's dressed like the Madonna.
I really think it could be trash. And I'm just curious just how trashy it's likely to be. Now, maybe I'll be completely fucking wrong. And like you went into the Harley Quinn cartoon expecting to completely shit all over it, and you end up enjoying it. So
no.
Prove me wrong.
Harley Quinn caught me off guard because I went zig and they went zag, and I never recovered. And all I've been watching is them run, and it's been fun, and I've enjoyed it. You sound like you've already kind of caught up to this movie, and it's not going to get away very far.
Yeah. Well, again, it could be advertising.
Let's cleanse your palate. How do you feel about Wonder Woman 84?
I fucking love that trailer. I fucking love that trailer, man. And I know you're a bitch.
Flies on lightning.
Yeah, she's fucking lassoing the fucking lightning. That's the fucking DC Universe movie I want to see.
Fuck no. I want the Invisible Jet.
Well, and people have said that they think it might actually be them concealing the Invisible Jet, pulling some Marvel shit like with Infinity War, where you think you're going to have the Hulk in the final battle and it ends up being Bruce Banner the Hulkbuster. So there are people who think it's going to have something to do with the Invisible Jet. I hope the Invisible Jet makes an appearance.
Like I said, I'm interested. I really want to see how they bring back the dude from the dead. When she was lassoing the lightning, dude, I don't know why that turned me off. I'm just like, that just doesn't seem. I would rather her fly.
I don't want
rather
her to fly.
Launch into the air.
You gotta understand,
fly.
as a Wonder Woman fan, it makes me so fucking happy that there none of this ambiguity, none of this shit like they did with the other movies where you're still not sure, is she flying? Is she not flying? She's not fucking flying, because Wonder Woman's deal is she has a fucking lasso, okay? She doesn't have a fucking sword, and she doesn't fly like Supergirl. She has a fucking lasso and an invisible jet, because nobody else has that shit. That's her fucking thing. So you play to her thing. And I love this fucking movie because they got rid of the sword entirely. And I've been bitching about that sword for ages. So no fucking sword. And all these people are pissed off like, why'd you take away her sword? Why isn't she a warrior anymore? It's like, fuck off. You guys are not real Wonder Woman fans. She's not fucking Xena. Yeah. So I'm actually more.
I'll admit, I did like when they showed her in that Kingdom Come outfit or the armor. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, that's pretty fucking cool. And I remember I told you, man, that would be so awesome. You're like, you're not gonna do it. But I'm like, but I always thought that looked like a fucking badass armor in the comic.
Well, and that's the funny thing. Okay, they were showing us that armor for like 6 months to a year, right? And I don't know if anybody who got it that she was wearing the Kingdom Come armor. I assumed that it was some sort of a performer outfit. You know, it was going to be her during her performance wearing this gold outfit. So when they revealed that it was the Kingdom Come outfit, I am on record as having very strong negative opinions about Kingdom Come. I think that a lot of what I've hated about Wonder Woman comic books over the last 20 some odd years goes right back to Kingdom Come and what Alex Ross and Mark Waid did to the character. Mark Waid is a writer I enjoy a lot more than you do, and I've got to talk to him in person, good guy, but I hated what he did with Wonder Woman. And I'm not, you know, Alex Ross was plotting that, so I don't, it's not entirely his fault, but I never felt like he had a strong handle on Wonder Woman, and Kingdom Come is the worst example of that. So I hate the Kingdom Come armor. It popped up a number of times. Phil Jimenez used it a fair amount. So it's definitely part of the character now, and it's not something I can deny, but I hate that armor, except when I see it in the trailer, because they've used it as a stand-in for like some of the alternate costumes that Wonder Woman would have back on the TV show. Yeah. And because of that context, and because they specifically use the flying armor to show she's using flying armor because she doesn't fly. It's like a stealth suit for her to fly into the space and shit. I'm on board. It's like, fucking yeah, cool. Go for it. Yes. Because you've given me so much of what I wanted that I can embrace the Kingdom Come armor, because I'm just so happy to see so much lasso work, to see Wonder Woman jumping and kicking, and they even did the bit where she takes off her tiara and uses a boomerang that comes straight from George Perez. It's like, I am more enthusiastic about the sequel to Wonder Woman than I was for the original.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that Patty Jenkins...
Let's hope this podcast ages well.
Yeah. I think that Patty Jenkins, clearly she at least loves the TV show. And the TV show was a fair reflection of the comic book character, more so than most of the comic books have been in recent years, where she's running around with the swords and being a warrior and coming from a race that kills male babies or sells the male babies into slavery and all this stupid, shitty, misandrous bullshit, or misogynistic bullshit, really. Fuck Azzarello forever. But I think that Patty Jenkins is sort of like, this movie's almost like combating that by getting more into the real Wonder Woman. She's basically taken the credit that the first movie has given her to do a movie that owes more to the actual Wonder Woman than the original did, where, you know, it's still kind of odd because she's got the sword and the shield and she's trying to assassinate a guy, and it's in World War I, where she never was in the comics, and all this kind of stuff. And I've accepted that, and I've enjoyed a lot of that. But this movie feels more like the Wonder Woman movie that I wanted, and because it's not an origin story, although I do think they're going to get into the contest, which is another thing that makes me very, very happy. I want to see the contest, you know, because that's such an integral part of the character, and it's such a thing that's so specific to Wonder Woman that other superheroes don't have. Most superheroes don't actually have to compete with a bunch of people to become the superhero, to show, you know, that they've earned that role. And so I think Jenkins is going to give me even more of what I wanted. But wait a minute,
and I hate to throw a little monkey wrench in your jerk off joint here, but do you feel, because I saw who the villain seems to be?
Cheetah, yeah.
No, Maxwell Lord.
Yeah, Max Lord's there too, yeah.
Do you think it's going to be another one of those, you know, endings, you know, the finale?
What, like, do you think they're going to do the sacrifice story arc where she...
I don't know, dude. Like, are they going to shit the bed at the end?
Well, I mean, I don't think that...
Because what is Maxwell Lord after in the movie? Is it like world domination again?
The impression that I'm being given based on just the visual of the character is I think they're going to use Maxwell Lord often in the TV shows, especially. Supergirl is a good example of this. They basically decided to take Maxwell Lord and turn him into a low-rent Lex Luthor, which I think is an extremely boring thing to do. I think that Patty Jenkins is going to use him as an avatar for Trump and Trump type, you know, in Gordon Gekko, and basically pitting Wonder Woman against that whole mentality, that corporate, moneyed, cult of personality thing that those guys had. So I'm actually cool with that, because I don't think that's a thing you would necessarily do with Lex Luthor.
That would be kind of interesting. I'm kind of wondering what Cheetah's going to look like.
Yeah, I'm curious too, because they've made a point of saying that it's going to be Barbara Minerva. And at first I was irritated.
What is that?
Barbara Minerva is the modern incarnation of the Cheetah. So she's the one that was created by George Perez in the 80s. She's the weird creature, the one that has the long hair.
She turns into like a cat.
Yeah, like a sort of a were like being, yeah, we're cheetah type thing, yeah. And so by saying that that's specifically Barbara Minerva, Minerva's the one in the comics that actually does that. The other two cheetahs were women in costumes. They were not, weird creatures. I have never been a big fan of Barbara Minerva. I really think the character is played out, and I think because Cheetah has been treated as a multi-generational character because there's a 40s version and sort of an 80s version and then like a modern age version, we should say. I really feel like by the time they got to the New 52, they should have given us an entirely different Cheetah with a different name. And they basically did. The Cheetah that Greg Rucka wrote, and to a lesser degree, some of the people who were doing Wonder Woman, like Jeff Johns and John Ostrander, who played around with the character in the post New 52 era, they're not writing the same character George Perez was writing, you know. I wish they'd given her a different name so that they could acknowledge that this is a different type of Cheetah. But she still looks exactly the same as she did when George Perez conceived her. They gave her like a necklace of fangs and stuff like that, but otherwise she's exactly the same.
Okay.
One of the things I've liked about Barbara Minerva being in this movie is because the movie is set in the 80s, my assumption is most of these characters are not going to graduate past this movie. It's intended to be a period picture, and so I don't think we're going to see Barbara Minerva carry on from this point onward. So if they're going to use Barbara Minerva in a period setting and then move past her, I'm actually pretty cool with that. It's just weird because the character as depicted much more resembles Debbie Domain or Priscilla Rich rather than Barbara Minerva. Like the character she's playing feels more like an earlier incarnation of the Cheetah, and they're just using the modern Cheetah's name. So it's a weird kind of thing.
And have they explained how they're bringing back that Trevor guy?
No, but they're making it clear that there's some sort of magical weirdness going on. So it's not like some dumb thing where he got frozen in ice or something and making him...
Hey, fuck you.
No. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bitching about Cap. I'm saying if they'd done that for a character who's not Cap, it would have been derivative bullshit. So that would be dumb because there's already a lot of parallels between the first Wonder Woman movie and the first Captain America movie. So doing that would have just really made it offensive, you know.
I'm gonna shit on a little bit on Wonder Woman here. What if it turns out he's Ambush Bug?
You did. That was... I should probably cut that. That was sad. I feel bad for you. Although, I mean, I love Ambush Bug, but he's got no place in the Wonder Woman movie.
Don't they have like tricksters in their universe? Isn't he a trickster?
You have no idea.
Doesn't she have like a trickster villain?
Sure, yeah. Duke of Deception. I'd be okay with that. That'd be a cool little twist there.
Well, that's what I was saying, because I remember seeing, I picked up a Wonder Woman book and they showed all her villains, and I remember they had one that was a trickster. Yeah. And I remember thinking, oh, that's very Loki.
Yeah, Duke of Deception. He's nowhere near as cool, suave, what have you, as Loki, but relative to the Pantheon, as a trickster god type person, as a person who takes on other people's forms and stuff, yeah, Duke of Deception, that'd be fine. That'd be a really interesting way to go, and a way of tying it to the mythology in a way that, you know, Max Lord and Cheetah couldn't. So no, I'd be down with that. That'd be fine with me.
Okay.
Because we still get Chris Pine. I think that the two actors have an extraordinary chemistry. I enjoy.
You're just a Wonder Woman fan. You're getting off on this. I'm interested in it. I'm gonna go see it. I like the fact that it's taking place in the 80s. I really want to see like them really play up the shoulder pads and all that shit and just kind of take me back there. I'm just curious. Like I said, my big thing is always the motivation of the villain. That's really important to me. That to me really drives the story. And what I've seen so far is just Maxwell Lord wants to rule the world.
Well,
like,
obviously, we don't know.
For a second there, when I showed him, I thought he was Lord Imp from Wildstorm, because I don't know. What you were saying?
We have had that one trailer. Very little can be derived from that trailer as far as what's actually going to go on. So I just think that's too soon. But
when does it drop?
That is coming out this summer.
Okay, summer.
Because the plan was originally it was going to come out in like that Thor-ish slot around like November or so. Yeah. And basically DC lost, or Warner Brothers lost the tentpole, or they didn't have a movie that they felt strongly about in the summertime. They felt very strongly about Wonder Woman, and they decided to move her to summertime. So normally
the movie is ahead of schedule in terms of production.
Yeah, well, again, it was intended to be out in the fall, and they decided they wanted it as a summer tentpole instead. So a lot of people were upset because they were pushing the movie back, but it was actually a show of confidence. They're like, we don't want this to be a late year thing that, you know, might do well or might be, you know, fighting for oxygen against the Star Wars movie. We're going to put it out this summer and really have it be a competing movie. And I think it's going to come out between Marvel movies too, so it's an opportunity for DC to grab some action and have a spot of its own. But yeah, I've been hurt before, you know. I really wanted to see some cool 80s action in not Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, X-Men Apocalypse. Yes. And I really wanted to see some 90s action in Captain Marvel, and those movies did not fucking pay off that at all. I think that there's money to be had. I think Stranger Things have proved it. There's a lot of period nostalgia, especially for the 80s, that the Wonder Woman movie could take advantage of, so I'm hoping that they do that. But if I'm getting the Wonder Woman movie I like, then I'm not investing in the nostalgia without knowing that it's going to be there. So, but I'm cool with the period setting. I like that. I think I love that they're establishing again that Wonder Woman has been around for decades. She didn't go away. She didn't disappear. She had to work discreetly. She wasn't a big showy public hero like Batman and Superman.
So she was like Connie McCloud.
Yeah, she's been quietly working throughout all these years. Yeah, I fucking dig that shit. And again,
she was an antique collector because she was there when it was first made and just traveled with it. And yeah,
shit. Yeah, I'm down. Absolutely. And the thing is, that's true in the comics and it's true in the TV show. It's something they took away from the character in the Perez reboot, post-Crisis. And it's something that I've, especially as I've gotten older, I feel more and more like there was depriving the character of something that was valuable to her. So I'm actually really, really happy to see that reinstated within the movies.
And have you seen any of that Crisis stuff?
Oh, but before we do that too, let me also point out that the Black Widow trailer came out just like a week or two before.
Oh my God, you're gonna bash on it. Go ahead.
Well, okay. Before we even do that though, you go ahead and give me your take on Black Widow's trailer right quick.
I'm interested in it. I love the Red Guard. I laughed my ass off when I saw him. I'm kind of interested. I want to see if they're gonna do any of the what was the Russian team?
The Soviet super soldiers?
Huh?
The Soviet super soldiers?
Yeah, the Soviet. I want to see the bear. I want to see a fucking bear.
Well, that's why we watched Guardian. Rolled Spine. One of our episodes. You watched the Guardians.
You fucking tortured me at 4 a.m. watching
Ursa
that shit.
Major.
No, I want to see. I'm interested in it. I've always liked Taskmaster as a villain.
Yeah, I wish that he looked a little bit more comic accurate though. I think he's got such a cool visual that just making him a dude with
the hood and stuff and the shield. I'll give him time. Again, they really haven't shown much about him. I just have a sneaky suspicion there's going to be another villain that we don't see coming. Mm-hmm. I mean, for the most part, I mean, I'm glad she's getting her own movie. It feels more like it's going to be along the lines of Winter Soldier, kind of the spy thriller, which I'm kind of excited for. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's the same thing with Captain Marvel with me. Is they have the potential to show some cool flashback stuff and show some cool historical stuff and really play around with the timeline and elevate Black Widow's role in Marvel's cinematic history. But Captain Marvel fucking blew, and the trailer for that movie I found extremely underwhelming. And it's so funny because usually what happens is DC will put out some trailer and we'll watch it and we'll be like, what the fuck was that? Or we're kind of like, it looks all right. Maybe it'll be okay. We'll see what happens. And then Marvel turns around and puts out a trailer. We're just fucking jizzing in our pants. It's like, oh my fucking God. Marvel just completely destroyed DC with their fucking badass trailer. It's like they were waiting on DC to drop something just so they could step on them again, right? And this is like the one time where Marvel puts out a trailer. The response, generally speaking, was pretty muted. And then the Wonder Woman trailer comes out and it's like, fuck yeah, I ride the lightning.
I'm sure in Frank's world it was, but
dude, people were really excited about Wonder Woman. I'm sorry.
No. She's a big character, dude. But I think a lot of people, again, they're gonna set up their camps, and I think there's a lot of Black Widow fans out there because she's been in a bunch of movies, and they're gonna now you get to. I mean, I still like that one part from Endgame where you go into, they show her in the house, and you feel like that it's kind of like this Russian spy assassin school, and they sterilize her, and it's just like really fucked up. And I kind of hope they dive into that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
To show that her past is really fucked up. Like she comes from like a class of assassins that are just like hardcore. I think they show a scene where she's like shooting a human or she's killing someone, I guess, to graduate. So I'm interested. I mean, it's a Marvel movie, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna enjoy it. I hope it does well, and I hope there's like some kind of villain in there. I hope there's that whole surprise thing that they tend to pull out sometimes. So we'll see.
It's kind of like Endgame broke me, as I've said before. All that multiverse stuff, I despise it in the context of the Marvel universe. And so when they did what they did to those characters, it just completely broke me and I think irrevocably shattered my MCU fandom. That doesn't mean I'm going to suddenly stop watching the Marvel universe movies. It's just that I went from a guy who had watched every single one of them from from Thor onward. I think the only one that I'd missed was the Incredible Hulk. And now I've already missed Far From Home theatrically. I've yet to watch it at home either. I have no plans to see Eternals unless the trailer just completely blows me away. I'm at the point where I'm going to pick and choose, and there's some that Paquita's going to make me go see. She's going to drag me to Thor regardless of how I feel. Whether or not I wanted to see Black Panther, she's going to see Black Panther. Same with Doctor Strange. I would have seen those anyway, most probably, but the fact that it's even in question shows just how much they've lost me over what they did in Endgame.
I've seen all the movies recently again, and like fine wine. It's funny to watch where literally for Thanksgiving, we ended up watching Iron Man, and I forgot how fucking good that movie is. I hadn't seen it in maybe a few months since we watched all of them back to back just for the hell of it. And I really sat there and watched Iron Man, and then to watch Iron Man, and then in the context of all the films, I'm like, dude, this movie is just fucking, like, it just sets everything up. And I don't know, I'm excited. Like I said, I'll go see that. Eternals, I'm on the fence on, because that's more of a Kirby thing. Like, that was, I've never really read any Eternal stuff that blew me away or was just like, oh my God, you got to read this. So I'm more curious than excited. Black Panther, absolutely. Doctor Strange, absolutely.
Shang-Chi, I'm probably going to see.
I kind of want to see that. I want to see the 10 Rings. I want to see what they do with the 10 Rings.
I want to see the ties to the Mandarin. I really do. I'm really, I had some interest because of Shang-Chi, but really tying it into Iron Man, again, that's going to probably bring me to the table. And I actually want to go back and read some Master of Kung Fu too before that movie comes out. But Black Widow, what I was working to was that we'll probably see Black Widow, but if I hear bad reviews, if it looks like it's going to be another Captain Marvel, I might be able to miss it. I don't think that Pepita is so down for that she would have to see it. So if it's not getting great reviews, if I'm not hearing some of the advanced word, that's missable for me. And it should have been a slam dunk. Before going into Endgame, I was absolutely set to see Black Widow. But between how much I hated Captain Marvel and was disappointed by it, and how much I fucking loathe what they did in Endgame, I'm just not in there for it the same way anymore. But you were wanting to bring up multiverse stuff. So Crisis. Did you watch the Crisis stuff?
I've seen some of it, and I've enjoyed it.
That stuff, it probably didn't hit Netflix yet, but that was on the CW app, so you could watch it without having, to download anything.
Well, no, but I'm going to wait until, I know someone's going to do like a mega mix or something where they put all the episodes together. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to watch. It seems to me that's something that needs to be binge watched.
Well, not just that. I went ahead and watched them. I just couldn't resist the notion of watching a TV crossover reflecting Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's just too fucking weird. And it's just too much in my wheelhouse because that's the shit I grew up on, Yeah, I want to see fucking Crisis on TV. I would have felt like the FOMO would have gotten to me. I just couldn't stand to not watch it. So I did. I made a point of DVRing it all. And the first thing that I became aware of was that if you weren't watching at least that current season of Arrow, of all fucking things, of all the things to hinge a fucking cosmic multi-dimensional crossover on motherfucking Arrow. But yeah, basically, apparently you had to watch Arrow because they set up all the shit with the Monitor in there, and like his fate is tied to like the fate of the universe and all this bullshit. And it's like, it is exactly like Crisis. You can't just go into Crisis blank. You can't go in there as like a new reader who's never followed DC before and start reading Crisis on Infinite Earths. You really have to already be a Berlanti verse, Arrowverse person to even know what the fuck was going on there. Thankfully, I have some awareness just from osmosis, and also watching the first few seasons of Supergirl. Although I could definitely tell there was shit that's happened in Supergirl where I'm like, oh, I don't really know what the fuck happened with that person, for instance. So for starters, you can't just watch Crisis on Infinite Earths on its own. You have to watch some preamble bullshit. So that's probably a good reason to try to look for that supercut you were talking about. Watching it, I was extremely bored. Most of the time while I was on, I was like live tweeting shade. It wasn't particularly compelling. There was some stuff that alluded to Crisis, and they definitely do some cosmic stuff. Most of the cameos were really super fucking cheesy, although you'll like a few of them.
Dude, I like the one where let's see,
I like the Lucifer one.
I thought the Lucifer one was good.
I don't give a shit about Lucifer. So that did nothing for me. I don't give a shit about. I don't like the guy that got to play John Constantine or Constantine. I guess he is on the show.
I like him.
So that did nothing for me. I got the biggest kick out of the Birds of Prey just because nobody gave a shit about the Birds of Prey TV show. So the fact they went in there and they got the Huntress for that made me happy. Yeah. The one that I hated the most was the Smallville callback.
Yeah, that one was kind of crappy. Yeah,
that was just terrible. The acting was terrible. The writing, all of that was just the worst. That was one of those things where you could tell they got the actors and they worked out a scene to do with the actors to make sure they had a good spotlight. Didn't make any fucking narrative sense. Didn't make sense within the context of the greater mythology of the characters. Fucking awful. But the weird thing is the one that I really liked was Black Lightning, and really? I'm on record as like I really can't stand the character of Black Lightning. I just feel like he's such an underwhelming lame-o character. So much like some white dude trying to tell, basically having Bill Cosby as a superhero. Essentially, the character just gets on my nerves. And watching the show, I didn't really like the guy who played Black Lightning. I didn't like the character as portrayed. It just seemed like a cornball. But the episode, it's weird because most of the episodes were part of the greater story of worlds live, worlds die, everything's blowing up, and I think it's a at first I thought they were going to work toward just merging all the Berlanti shows into one universe. Now I think that it's just a big spectacle and everybody's going to go back where they were left off because they're killing off way too many people for it to have any kind of permanence to it. They're going to reverse pretty much all this shit. But then the the Black Lightning episode focuses on one of his two daughters. And, this was this affectation I had trouble with because all of a sudden out of nowhere they decided to give Black Lightning a daughter in the 2000s. Judd Winnick did that for the Outsiders series. And it's like, where the fuck did that shit come from? But watching the episode, the character they focused on was a daughter who was sort of caught between two extremes. By the way, Bill Duke's on that show, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, he lost a lot of fucking weight. You hardly recognize him anymore. But just the fact that Bill Duke is like apparently our series regular is like, holy shit, that's fucking impressive. So Bill Duke is like this. For starters, Black Lightning is just like the whole different fucking thing. Like, I had no idea what to expect this thing because Black Lightning throughout the years, he's always been like, I'm the ghetto superhero and I'm here to help lift up the people and fight drug dealers because they're hurting my people and all this kind of bullshit. Just total cornball stuff, right? Well, no, they've basically made it as sort of like an urban, contemporary sort of Wakanda thing where it's this country it's a black-led country, but they dress like normal people. They're part of the regular world, but they're in this conflict because they share a border with Markovia, which ties into the Outsiders comic books. Markovia is where like Geoforce and Terra is supposed to be from and stuff. They have like monarchies and stuff. And so because they have these like border disputes, and I guess it's sort of like, I don't know if it's supposed to be a European country or what, because everybody talks like, actually most of them talk like they're from Atlanta or some shit. So it's like, wait, where the fuck is this happening? But anyway, so they've got all this political stuff going on. And so Bill Duke is like basically like the head of the CIA's KGB Gestapo of the country that all the black people are in. And the Black Lightning's got two daughters, and one of them is squarely on the side of fighting the resistance and fighting against the authoritarian regime and trying to show that the Markovia isn't the real enemy. And then you got the other daughter's like, no, Markovia is a problem, and she's working with the KGB to like do like targeted strikes and killing people and stuff. And so she's at this moral crossroads, and the events of Crisis cause her to split into three different timelines or three different parallel universe versions of herself. And you've got the one from the actual TV show, and you've got one that has one fate, one has the other fate, and they're all basically fighting over the course of action of the character in the core universe. And it's all this big morality play, and it's also basically like a what if, but it's what if that's happening in continuity because the real character is seeing, well, what if I do this versus what if I do this? And it was really compelling. And I thought the acting was surprisingly good. It was weird because it's shot differently from the other shows. It looks like they spend their money on actors, and so it looks like they don't get the same budget, or maybe they just don't get the same budget. I don't know. So it's shot differently. It's shot kind of weird. It reminds me of like, quote unquote urban like horror movies and stuff where they don't have the budget, so they kind of have to trick it out a little bit, but it gives it kind of its own kind of style and panache. And I actually really like Black Lightning, and I understand that people have been telling me Black Lightning was good, and I couldn't get past Berlantiverse and not liking the character. But I really think what happened is they've got their own writers and they're kind of doing their own thing, and they're not even really participating in the crossover. They, like I said, they literally just went ahead and did their own thing, and I liked it a lot better than any of the Berlanti stuff. So I might actually have to go and check out some Black Lightning. And I think you like it too because there's so much moral ambiguity and this weird political stuff going on and everything. It was really not what I was expecting.
Yeah. Huh. Now you got me kind of piqued. You got my interest piqued now.
And did I mention Bill Duke's in the thing? Holy shit.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give it a shot because I had no desire to watch it because I thought the same thing as you, it's part of the Arrow universe, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of those shows. I like The Flash. I don't love The Flash, but I like The Flash. I never watched an entire episode of Arrow. I watched The Heroes of Tomorrow for like a season or two and just kind of petered out.
I heard it got better actually.
Really? I kind of was piqued when Vandal Savage, because like, again, for your DC universe, I'm a big fan of Vandal Savage. You introduced him to me. I like Vandal Savage. I like the premise of Vandal Savage. He's just a cool fucking character. So I kind of watced those a little bit.
You told me they blew it in the adaptation, didn't you?
What now?
You said you weren't impressed with how they did the adaptation of the character on the show.
No, I mean, it was okay. It wasn't, like the comics that you showed me, but I mean, it was still, it was interesting. I just like the fact they introduced, I gotta give that to DC. They do introduce a lot of characters that you wouldn't think they would introduce. Mm-hmm. Where Marvel's a little more restricted about who comes out and who's shown, and that, where DC's kind of like, fucking Vandal Savage, yeah, he's gonna be the villain of the season. Okay, that's great. And this guy and that. I mean, it's kind of neat. So, but Black Lightning, I was just kind of like, nah, it looks like a poor man's, Luke Cage. much, so I'm not gonna watch it. But now that you're talking, like, that sounds kind of interesting. Like, it's almost like I don't know. Let me watch it a few times, in a few episodes, and I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, let me know. But again, it's funny because we did a DC special where I was talking about, they need to embrace the multiverse and embrace, all these different Earths and all these different continuities and embrace the folklore and have all these different perspectives. And they're fucking doing it. I'm fucking Nostradamus over here, man. Shit.
Yeah, we'll see.
They actually did fucking Christ Limited Earth. What the fuck? Did not. And they did exactly what I was asking them to do. Is I wanted to see them bring in all the different versions of Superman and all the different versions of Batman, and to the degree they could do that, they ain't gonna spring for fucking Christian Bale showing up and shit. But
it would have been nice if Michael Keaton showed up or something. That would have been
that would have been cool. But they can't afford Michael Keaton.
Oh, no. Dude, even just a walk on, it's just like a walking in the background.
They got Robert Wool and Burt Ward. Okay, that's where that's the stakes they can work from.
Well, I do like the fact that they did kind of connect all the DC shows that have come out.
Well, and it's cool too because this is probably one of the only times in history that you could still do that. Because how many years has Burt Ward got in him? We've already lost Adam West. None of the guys from the 1940s are still around. Although I don't think that. I mean, it'd be great if there was. Actually, didn't they might have actually gotten somebody from.
It would have been cool if Linda Carter showed up. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. Well, and she's supposed to be in the Wonder Woman sequel, from what I understand.
No, I thought they had scheduling problems.
Did they? I thought I heard that she was actually in the sequel. I don't know. I heard there was scheduling problems for the first one. I thought they got her for the second one.
Okay, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. This has all been a tangent, getting us back to Harley Quinn, though. Now,
oh my God, you're shitting me.
No. Well, this is sort of like the wraparound. So one of the reasons why you wanted to show me the Harley Quinn clips is you wanted me to see Dr. Psycho, and you didn't know anything about Dr. Psycho as a character, which surprises me. I would have thought at some point you'd be exposed to him. And they actually did have a tiny little mention of Dr. Psycho in that Powerless show. And of course, I was unduly excited about that because Dr. Psycho is one of my favorite Wonder Woman villains because, again, his whole thing is he's sort of like a physical manifestation of misogyny and like little man syndrome and hatred of women because of deficits in your own self and your own sense of masculinity and everything else. That's what that character is all about. So when you told me that the guy got in trouble, basically, okay, so Harley Quinn wants to get in the Legion of Doom. And what you explained to me was
she needs to get a crew together, but no one will work with her because they all see her as like, you're Joker's girlfriend. Like, what are you doing? You're low class. You can't do it. And she decides to get the worst of the worst, the villains that no one wants to work with, and that's going to be her crew. Yeah. So she gets the fuck ups.
Yeah. So she gets King Shark, who is
a tech genius. Like, that's her tech guy.
Yeah, and it's a Superboy villain that was invented in the 90s, kind of a wannabe Killer Croc of it or something. Not anybody's favorite villain of any kind. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he showed up in The Flash, and he's just a giant shark with arms and legs that bite. And this one, he's the tech guy.
He's Land Shark from SNL.
Who's this? Huh?
He's Land Shark from SNL.
Pretty much, yes. Yeah, nice pull. Then you got Clayface, who's just loud, boisterous actor, and he's just I think he's hilarious. This is the way he is, the way he talks, he mutates, and then you got Dr. Psycho.
Well, it's funny because I made an SNL. Well, it's like I made the SNL reference.
This is for Fryho. We both love Frank. Frank, and not you asshole, but Frank is the plant in Poison Ivy's apartment that is like
it's Audrey too,
constantly talking shit, huh?
It's Audrey too.
Yes, but talking shit constantly, almost like the male point of view, where like there's a point where he's crying. He goes, "Can a man cry? You bitches!" Or I think he says bitches, but he's just like he's kind of the counterweight of the comedy. He's not in every episode, but the episodes he's in, dude, are just hilarious. I think he's fucking funny too. So, what you were saying?
I was just gonna make a reference to the character from SNL who's acting a thespian. So.
Oh yeah, the what's his name? Oh damn that. What's his name? John, not Leguizamo. John Lovitz.
That's the ticket.
Yes. Not that bad, but yeah, pretty close. And then of course Dr. Psycho, which is just hilarious.
Yeah. And the whole thing is he's in a fight with Wonder Woman and he drops a C-bomb on her.
Yes.
And that's like the only one they bleep because he was funny.
Oh no. I think I watched an episode where they did say it.
Okay. But yeah, so because he's like officially the poster boy for anti-woke culture apparently on the show, right?
Yes.
And see, normally that would be taking a liberty with a character and I'd get all bent out of shape about it, but no, that's who fucking Dr. Psycho is, so I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
And he's played by Tony Hale from Veep.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. He does a great job, dude. I mean, I love it because every time he drops the C word, like everything stops. A dog stops peeing, the birds stop in the air, the earth literally stops, and they're like, I can't believe you used that word. And he's just like, yeah, and they play up the fact that he's a misogynist in the show constantly. constantly.
Well, and see, I personally like cunt because I like using it in the sort of European sense. It's sort of like a stand-in for asshole. It's not necessarily gendered. And I was having this whole conversation with Paquita about it the other day because I was explaining to her, why the N-word is the most verboten word in American culture, at least North American culture, and then how the C word, when applied to a woman, is basically the ultimate, slur that will really get people really upset with you. Even though in other parts of the world, it's used more almost affectionately, or actually is affectionately. So it's a weird thing with us, and we ended up getting into like entitlement and all this other kind of bullshit that comes with being, an American. But yeah, okay. I mean, it's even on a show where they're cursing constantly, dropping that particular word in that context, especially to Wonder Woman.
They drop it a couple times in an episode, but the rest of the time, he's just a misogynistic asshole.
Yeah, and that's exactly who he's supposed to be. And actually, again, that's the thing that I find relief in too, because Gail Simone, when she was working, I think he was actually on one of the Superman books, she started using Dr. Psycho, but she was using him as a stand-in for Peter Dinklage. She decided that would be a good way to help bolster this character who's one of the major figures in Wonder Woman's Rogues Gallery, where, Peter Dinklage is a damned handsome man. It's like, I have like a guy crush on Peter Dinklage.
I know.
And this is pre-fucking Game of Thrones. I've been into him since The Station Agent. I always thought he was like, travel-size Brad Pitt, Oh, God. But a damn handsome man. And by the way, if you haven't seen The Station Agent, it's a very deliberately paced movie, but it's a really good flick. I definitely recommend that. And that's when I first
saw it a long time ago with Pussycat.
But that's not who Dr. Psycho is. And of course, every little person in comic books, they tried to cast Peter Dinklage. We thought he was going to be Pip the Troll in Infinity War, and I love that they went ahead and made him a giant instead. That was cute. Although there's a lot of little people in comics, and you want to get the best person possible to pull that off. But like in the role of Dr. Psycho, if you make Dr. Psycho a little handsome, guy, you're defeating who the character is. You're defeating what he's supposed to represent in Wonder Woman comics. And so I'm happy that in exploiting that element of social media culture and modern culture, they're actually getting Dr. Psycho back to his 1940s roots and getting back to the reason why William Moulton Marston created the character in the first place. And I like that he's not an attractive person either. I like that he's kind of an ugly little shit on that cartoon from what I can see.
Okay, you got to watch him, man. I think you would enjoy him. Mm-hmm. He's just one of those characters. And again, it's very dark. I'm not even dark. It's just there's some crude. I don't know. I can't describe it. It's just really funny. Mm-hmm. It's been a while since I've laughed out loud at a show and at a DC show at that. I'm like, wow. I'm still flabbergasted that it's a DC show, and I love every damn episode. Mm-hmm. I've yet to watch a bad episode where I'm just like, they're great. All of them, they're just weird. They always, I don't know, they're just weird.
It's not enough to just say fuck Batman and think that that's going to bestow cool upon you. But Marvel is so indebted to Disney and Disney's mentality and the need to be able to fit PG-13 Marvel movies onto the DC Plus app. And I mean, the Disney Plus app. And I do appreciate that Warner Brothers is realizing, Deadpool 3 aside, that's probably they're just going to play out Deadpool and then they'll shelve that shit. But they're going to let it play out as a Fox movie for now and make a little more money off of it before they shelve it. But DC and Warner Brothers can actually be like the cool, profane version of Marvel, and that can be their lane. I don't think it should be their only lane. I don't think you can do that with a Superman. I think you need to make sure you play Superman to the kids because that's who that character ultimately belongs to. And I think for the most part, Batman still needs to be for the kids as well. You still have to make sure you've got a Brave and the Bold for the kids, and then they can graduate to the Dark Knight, But I think Harley Quinn, I don't know. I mean, at this point, Harley Quinn is sort of a mature, skewing character. At least since the New 52 anyway, where she's running around in the shorts and everything. If you can get away with it with her, and you can have that naughty side of DC, and Batman can kind of dip into there, but as long as you don't adulterate him too much, since he's still ultimately got to be a hero.
Oh, they don't. No, he's definitely the straight guy.
Yeah,
like all the jokes.
That's the same thing.
Robin is a little asshole.
Yeah,
he's a little like there's a big gag about everyone should have a nemesis, and Harley doesn't have one, and then Robin's kind of this lying little shit that says that they're fighting, that they're nemesis, almost like they're dating, and it pisses her off to the point where she's going to prove, like, she's ready to kill him, and Ivy's like, I'm all down with killing heroes, but you're talking about murdering a child. They're like trying to explain, like, you're talking about killing a child. This is not something you can come back from. She's like, but it's just really funny. I mean, they show Zeus from the Batman villains,
King Zeus,
Zeus.
Oh, no, Maxi Zeus.
And he's kind of like this, kind of almost a Trumpish type guy where it's all about, look at everything I have, and it's all bullshit. He's like apparently even a cokehead. Like, I mean, they're just
that makes sense. Actually,
you gotta watch it, man. Yeah.
Well, and so Lake Bell plays Pamela Isley, so I'm glad to hear that somebody's finally done what right by Poison Ivy. It's been a while since she's been treated very well, from what I understand.
Oh yeah, no, I love this version of Poison Ivy, and apparently the next one has the storybook queen, or I don't know if she's a real DC villain.
Oh, Queen of Fables. Wanda Sykes is the Queen of Fables based on what I'm seeing on
Queen
IMDb
of Fables, there you
here.
go.
Queen of Fables was again, I was bitching about Mark Waid, but he introduced that character in JLA, and I think there was one of the more inspired arcs, and it was a more Wonder Woman centric arc. So I actually would like to see somebody do something with the Queen of Fables. They didn't seem to ever pull it off in the comics, but if they make it work in animation, that'd be cool.
Oh yeah, and Wanda Sykes is hilarious as her.
Mm-hmm.
The new episode hasn't come out, but they do introduce her earlier, and I really like I said, you got to get through the first one a little bit, the initial shock of where they're going with this, and then just kind of let it just I don't know how to let it be like a bear and let it maul you. Don't fight it. Let it swing you around and throw you around and eat your intestines a little bit. You'll be okay.
Let the profane current wash you away into a cesspool of fun.
I saw it more of like I was being mauled by a bear because it caught me totally off guard, because they literally released the first episode free, and then they had the second one. I immediately went to the second episode. I was like, I have to watch the next episode now. And then I watched the second one, like, fuck, now I gotta wait for the next one because I'm gonna have to wait. And of course, I don't have Disney or DC, Universe, so I have to do the back channels thing to find those episodes. So I don't get the complete episodes, but enough of the episode that I enjoy it. So like I said, that's one of those series that if it comes out on Blu-ray, I am buying it. And I don't buy Blu-ray. You know me, I don't buy Blu-rays day one. I wait till they're nice and cheap. That I would absolutely buy that day one. I'd have to own that.
Well, and it's 6 23-minute episodes, so
they're really short, man.
Yeah, that's easy
they burn so fast.
Yeah,
so it's not one of those where it feels it overstays its welcome too long. It just kind of chugs along. Keep going. Let's get those jokes out. So it's good.
Yeah, I mean it's like 2 hours. It'd probably be like a $15 Blu-ray. So
I can live with that, dude. Yeah. I could live with that. That's something I could see myself binge watch real quick, and then a week later have a bad day, just throw it on there, just listen to the jokes. Like I said, we'll see.
And again,
I'm scared that I'm hyping it too much, but I enjoyed it so much that even if you're like, I didn't like it, I'll be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's great. And I'm saying that about a DC property, so that's kind of really weird for me. That coming from my lips felt really weird.
I'm just happy to see them have a win, and I'm happy to see them figure out a thing that they can do that's theirs. So
it feels like a Looney Tune cartoon in the DC universe with a lot of cursing and adult humor, if that makes any sense.
No, definitely.
They do kind of have a Looney Tune vibe to it, like the weirdness, quirkiness of it. They did a great job as far as I'm concerned so far.
Well, here's the thing. People praise Batman the Animated Series. I'm not as big a fan of it as most people, because I find that after I've seen an episode once or twice, I'm kind of done with it. I think that because they were fairly complex for children's cartoons, that you invest a little more when you're watching it the first time. And so once the mystery's been unraveled, or once you know how it plays out, I just don't find there's a lot of repeat value for the Batman show for me. I always preferred Superman because it was a little more action oriented, a little bit more fun, a little looser, and
colorful too.
Yeah, more colorful, exactly, very much so. That's one of the things that really bugged me about the Batman show, is how brown it was. I just got tired of that after a while. So when you tell me this, seeing those roguish characters, people who are not supposed to be admirable characters anyway, you're seeing them behind the scenes, you're seeing them out of the public eye, but you also got an acknowledgement, like with Diedrich Bader being the voice of Batman from Brave and the Bold.
Yes,
you have the acknowledgement that this is still kind of in their universe still, and it reminds me a little bit of Justice League International, where as long as you're treating Batman like Batman, you can have him kind of mix it up with people that aren't his typical foils, and as long as he maintains his truth, as long as he still maintains his character, you could have him mix up with different type of folk and make that fun. And it seems to me like with all the cursing and the color and the violence and it seems like it might actually be something that I would enjoy more, than maybe some of the other DC fare.
I think you will, man. Like I said, it's I just keep picturing Robin saying, "I'm a little sweet potato pie." You'll get that joke when you see the episode.
Well, and it's important to me too. It's Damian Wayne, so he's supposed to be a little.
Oh shit. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
He's such an asshole, dude. He's such a little jerk that it just gives it to. Yeah. I want to talk about it, but I'm like, no, I want you to watch it because I don't want to give you scenes. I want you to watch it and then see how you feel, dude. If it comes out, I'll buy it. We'll sit there and we'll do a podcast on it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go through all the hassle you did to try to watch the show, but if you actually have a disc or on demand kind of thing, yeah, I'd watch that.
Yeah. And like I said, I would absolutely do a podcast with you on it just to see how you feel about it. Because like I said, I'm Marvel ride or die, but I don't know what it is about this show. It's so fucking charming and so fun. I love it.
That's all there is, nothing more than you can touch now. That's all there is, let me show you the world in my eyes.
I'm going to skip using the text to audio again. It was something of a trademark of the DC specials. I enjoy doing it, but I couldn't find one that had a pipsqueak Brooklyn accent to go with Harley Quinn. And this is a very low energy, low effort episode. So I'm just not going to kill myself by... You'd think it'd be easier to let a computer do the mail as opposed to me, but it's actually kind of a pain because you want it to be understood and you want it to have the right pacing and stuff. So I end up sometimes editing that more than I would if I just said this shit. So the last DC special was the one on the Aquaman movie, which shows how far back that goes. It was like right around the first of last year. Folks who dug that included the 108 Sage, Adam Blackmoon, Ali Batts, Dr. Ange, Biko Django, Chris Thompson, Coffee and Comics, Demisexual Chocolate, Dmitry Pimenov, Bone Dragon Comics, Ebtasam, El Romero, Fanholes Podcast, Jesus Rick 1, or Jesus, Gosh Designs, The Hammer Strikes, Random Geeky Stuff, History of Comics on Film, Paul Hicks, thankfully so far is evading the fires, best wishes to him and his family, Jeffrey Brown, Jeremiah Parker, Just in Time with the J&T Baggers, Justice Trek 2020, Keith G. Baker, Kyle Benning likes Disney Comics, I don't know the background of that, I like to better reading Avengers comics, Long Black's Crusade, Min, Nathaniel Devon Sanford, Nedhead, Odell Outer Dracula, Pensador Comic, Rad Adventures, Randy Caldwell, Ranger Gord, Rob at Speculum Fight, Secret Wars of Beyond Podcast, Sean Phillips, Siskoid, Terrence Castanguay, Tough Like a Girl Podcast, Tough Like a Girl Comics Podcast, Trekker Talk, Walt Neeland, Ward Hill Terry, Warlord Worlds, Wonder Woman Warrior for Peace Podcast, which recently returned. If you need a Wonder Woman podcasting fix, she's the one. Also, she had a really fucking rough 2019, and she put a lot of effort into her return episode. It includes a guest from, I believe, Brazil, who was at a showing of an extended trailer for the new Wonder Woman 2 movie. So it's just like a giant-sized, hey, I've been gone for a year episode, so I strongly recommend checking it out. And finally, Xenozoic Xenophiles. History of Comics on Film sent us a gif of the guys from Goodfellas, I assume Ray Liotta at the very least, laughing hysterically at the premise of a young, tanned Mark Waid. Ryan Daly also noted of our coverage of Aquaman. Haven't listened yet, but my prediction, Mac hates movie for reasons A, B, and C. Frank defends A, B, C, explains why they're not problems. But Frank hates it for D, E, and F. Fixit likes movie, but evidence suggests he saw a different movie. The preceding program is a non-profit fan production. Any copyrighted materials contained therein are believed borrowed under fair use with no copyright infringement intended. Please feel free to leave comments at Rolled Spine's Productions WordPress blog. You can also send us Twitter comments through the Rolled Spine Podcast Twitter. Thank you for listening.